we are going through an ascension cycle right now where a lot more people are waking up to the fact that this isn't the real reality, that there's a reality beyond this, that is actually the true reality that we're moving towards.
Hello, everyone. It's Michele Phillips, and welcome to another episode of Write Your Outcome. Today, I am with Debbie Solaris. Is that your real last name?
No, it isn't.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, wow, that fits what you do.
No.
So, welcome, Debbie. I'm really excited to have you here with us. I am going to read, like I always do, I'm going to read about Debbie. So I do her fascinating background justice. And then we're going to dive into a topic that is so new and delicious. You are all in for a real treat. Debbie Solaris is a galactic historian, Akashic Records channeler, and a starseed intuitive. Following an extraterrestrial contact experience, she awakened to her star lineage and calling. She has ever since been receiving galactic historical information and universal spiritual knowledge through Akashic Records. Debbie's mission is to help others awaken to their divine selves and cosmic origins. Debbie offers visually appealing classes, webinars, and presentations on extraterrestrial life, galactic history, and starseed enrichment, incorporating her unique perspective. She's conducted thousands of Akashic record readings for clients worldwide. She's been featured on the Beyond Belief show with George Norrie, Open Minds with Regina Meredith on Gaia TV, and various other media platforms. Known as the Galactic Wikipedia, she's appreciated for her approachable style and humor regarding galactic information and I don't even know how to say that word.
Exopolitics.
Exopolitics. Welcome, Debbie. And I have to say, and I was on your website, there's 3,000 people on the waiting list to get their Akashic records read.
Yeah, it's probably even more now. So it's just
I love it.
Crazy.
So, before we dive in, anyone who's listening, if this sounds a little different for you, it is.
It's out there.
I always say one of my great Wayne Dyer quotes is have a mind that's open to everything. So I ask you to keep your mind open and enjoy this beautiful conversation that I'm going to have with Debbie. So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. So a mind that is open to everything means science only knows what science has proven, but science proves something new every day. So we keep expanding. So tell us, some of these terms, I'm not sure everybody knows what Akashic Records are. Starseed, there was a lot of different terms there. Let's start with Akashic Records.
Okay.
Let's break that down into what that is.
Okay. And a lot of these terms were pretty new to me also until I had my, great spiritual awakening, which maybe it's a story we can briefly get into.
I want to get into that, definitely.
Yeah. So an Akashic Records is the energetic records of the universe. So just like we have records here on Earth, we have historical records, or we have, records for various different corporations and companies. The universe also has their records. It's not like an actual library. So a lot of people visualize the Akashic Records as being like this big galactic library with all these books. It's really not like that. It's more energetic, but everybody can tap into the Akashic Records and receive information. And even the Bible, the Christian Bible refers to the Akashic Records as the book of life. And, so for those of you that maybe have studied the Bible or have some, knowledge of biblical terms. The Book of Life was actually referring to the Akashic Records. And so many people throughout history, I would say, particularly those that were maybe considered to be prophets or seers, had access to this information. One of the most prominent people that have accessed Akashic Records, at least in the 20th century, was a man named Edgar Cayce. And he was considered to be the sleeping prophet. He basically accessed the Akashic Records to help people in, I would say, the 1920s and 30s with, I would say, a lot of their health issues, maybe some struggles that they're having in their lives. And he would just kind of lay down, maybe even be in kind of like a somewhat sleep state, and download information. And the
Mm.
information he was downloading was from the Akashic Records. And so this is the same source that I pull when I'm doing reading for clients. And
So before you had this awakening, did you even know what the Akashic records were?
no, not at all. I honestly, Michelle, I was so non-spiritual. I was brought up Catholic, so I come from a military family. We traveled throughout the world when I was growing up. But we were very I would say, metaphysical. We didn't
Right.
talk about this kind of thing. And I was even in the military myself for a number of years. So I served in the US Navy for 6 years as a hospital corpsman. So I had a very, I would say, non-spiritual background per se. And I didn't know what the Akashic records were. I didn't even know, what Starseed was, So,
Yeah. So this is
um,
why I love this. So what happened? So the show is called Write Your Outcome. So
yeah.
things happen in our lives that make us realize the outcome we're living isn't the outcome we need to write a new outcome. So what happened to you that you started writing this new outcome for yourself?
Well, I started dating my now husband, and he was interested in the paranormal and UFOs. And so he liked to read articles and stories about, extraterrestrial abductions and UFOs. And even though, I was exposed to it through him, I was very skeptical. I didn't believe there was UFOs. I didn't believe in aliens. I was just thinking there was some sort of logical explanation for things that happened like that. And I would be the last person that would ever think I would have that kind of experience. But back in 2012, I was recovering from a minor back surgery. It was like a laser surgery. And then, like a few days after the surgery, I went to sleep. And when I came to, and in my consciousness, so I came to,
Right.
I saw that I was in the interior of an extraterrestrial starship. And I do think I was there kind of like more as an out of body experience as opposed to being physically there,
Right.
but it was very real, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm having a weird dream, because I've had a lot of lucid dreams throughout my life, but nothing like that experience. It was very, very crystal clear. It was almost like, I was having an even more real experience than what I have
Mm.
having here right now with you, So I saw that I was in the interior of the starship, and I can go into great detail about it, but I won't because I know we're very limited in time. So I would say overall, what happened was I was in this ship. I connected with some beings, some extraterrestrial beings that called themselves the Arcturians from the star system of Arcturus, which is actually a star system in our galaxy, so it is an existing star system. And they told me about what was going on planet Earth. They told me about things that why I was there because I just asked them why me because I'm nobody
Right.
special. I'm just a health inspector for El Paso County. Trying to work towards my retirement.
Oh,
So
I love it.
I didn't know why I was there, but apparently I was part of their soul group, and I was chosen to be on
Mm.
planet Earth, to do a big mission. So I'd forgotten that mission because you get so programmed when you're in,
Yeah.
the 3D, the third dimension. So and that's kind of the existence that we're living right now is the third dimension. There are multiple dimensions even here on Earth, but getting back to the Arcturians, It wasn't like an abduction like a lot of people read about, where some gray aliens will pick you up and they start experimenting on you or poking and prodding you. It felt very different from that. I felt like a guest on their ship, and they took me around. They showed me the ship. There was other extraterrestrial beings there that weren't necessarily Arcturians. There was different species of extraterrestrial beings. I also interacted with those beings. And then I woke up the next day. It was the next morning, and I knew something extraordinary had happened to me. So I knew,
Let me just break down a couple things you said just for the
yeah,
listeners, because
yeah,
my knowledge is limited, but I have a lot of knowledge on this topic. So you said a
right,
couple
right,
things. You talked about extraterrestrials, and I always say to myself, I've never seen a ghost, but I believe in spirits, right? I
yeah,
believe I
yeah,
can
totally,
connect to
yeah,
people that have passed. And who am I to believe that we are the only planet that has life? Like,
yeah,
why
exactly.
shouldn't I be open? The other two things you said was dreams. Now, I believe that, we're processing information in our dreams, our kind of
Hmm.
soul leaves and comes back.
Hmm.
And I've never had like what you had, but I've had a visitation from my grandfather, which
Hmm.
I just want to share because I'm a dreamer. I'm
Hmm.
very clear, cognizant. I have a lot of dreams, but this was different. So
Yeah,
the difference in a visitation versus I'm dreaming, I'm processing is so dramatically different that something's different. And
yeah,
the other thing you said
exactly.
was soul groups, which I love. I am a believer that our souls, and again, I was raised Catholic, so my beliefs have totally expanded to the fact that souls go and come back, go and come back. And we
Right.
do that in groups. So what you're saying is your soul comes back with this mission,
Hmm.
but yet, we get caught up in the regular,
Day
everyday
to day life.
survival, and you really lose touch with who you really are. So this was almost the awakening that is saying, Debbie, you were sent here, excuse me, for a reason and to
Hmm.
fulfill that. Now, I know we have limited time, but I want to make the connection. You wake up, what happens, but I also want to make that bridge between how does this help people in their lives now?
Oh,
Because there is
absolutely.
so much crazy things going on in the world right now, but I really love helping people make sense of that. So
Oh, totally, totally.
I'm asking you, what happened when you woke up? And then how did you make the bridge to help other people? I guess
Yeah,
that's my question.
absolutely. So, to give you the short answer, I woke up and I knew at that point that something extraordinary happened. I mean, I knew immediately that my life was never going to be the same. And of course, the first person I told was my husband, who at first didn't believe me. Now, obviously, he believes me because it's been a few
Yeah.
years, um, but I didn't tell too many people, and it took me 2 years. I would say maybe even a little over 2 years to process what happened to me,
Yeah.
because it was so strange. And I, like I said, I was, I had a very ordinary upbringing, so I figured if I talked about it, people might think I was crazy,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, I want to interrupt you because there's so many good things here, Debbie. I feel
Yeah,
like it's the difference between intelligence and knowing, right? I could
exactly.
read a fact in a book and say, well, in 1814, we, had this war and this happened. That's a fact. But
Yeah,
knowing is something that you feel with every cell of your body. So you woke up and
totally.
you just knew
I knew
this
that
something's
my life was
happening.
not going to be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went on this journey of self discovery where I took a lot of spiritual classes after that happened. I read a lot of books. Uh, I mean, I did a lot of my own research, just trying to figure out what the heck happened, And in the meantime, I was having all these more extraordinary experiences. So I had a second visitation in later that year, the same year, in December 2012, same ship, same beings. And then I kept getting downloads of information, like just galactic information. All of a sudden I knew all these star systems, never taken astronomy before in my life, but I had
Mhm.
all this astronomical knowledge, and I was seeing galactic wars. I mean, just insane amount of information.
And
And
did
that's
that
what,
make you anxious? It's like to go from being, I forget what you said, the health inspector or the something in
yeah,
Texas, for El Paso, Texas, to getting
it's actually
galactical
in
information is a
Colorado.
little,
El
okay.
Paso County is in Colorado, but
Oh, sorry.
yeah, no problem.
And,
Um, yeah, there was times I thought I was going crazy. There was times
yeah.
that I thought, okay, I'm losing it. I don't know what's going on. But then there was something that prompted me to get more information. It's like, hey, and I also was taking spiritual classes. I was meeting people. I was, eventually it took me a couple of years, but I started sharing some of my experiences with trusted individuals that were like my spiritual teachers, and they obviously confirmed that hey, what I experienced may have been unusual, but it was very real. And then to make the bridge between what had happened to me and how this helps people is that I started taking classes in reading Akashic Records, because I found out that the information that I was downloading was from the Akashic Records. And then I found that, I have a gift for accessing the records. It seems like it's pretty easy for me. And I was already downloading the information. I just didn't know what I was downloading or where it came from. But then I started doing readings for people. And people were, it was just kind of started off as a hobby, because I still had my 3D job. So I still had my regular day job. I was doing that during the day and then at night. And that's where my name came from. So obviously, Solaris isn't my real last name. The reason why I chose Solaris was because I was doing all these readings at night, and I didn't want my day job managers to find out I was doing all this woo-woo stuff. So I figured I better change my name, and have a website with the fake name, so that they don't know that what I'm, that I'm doing all this weird stuff. And the reason why we picked Solaris, or why, was because I was talking to a colleague who did astrology, and she did my astrological chart, and she says, well, the sun is really prominent in your chart because you're a sun sign Leo. And so I think you need to call yourself Solaris. And I was like, okay, that works, so it was mainly, I think, just to
I like the
protect
sound of it.
protect my job, or protect, the fallout of doing this work in addition to my 3D job, because I worked for a governmental agency at the time. So that was
And
the
I
whole.
want to touch on that because I'm very intuitive. I've always been very intuitive. I think I know I'm a healer. I know I'm claircognizant or
Oh yeah,
clairvoyant.
totally.
But again, I don't talk about it, right? I work in corporations, but
Yeah.
these are the things that make me a good coach and make me good at what I do.
Yeah.
So I always look for the believers,
Mm-hmm.
the people that, I always feel like I have one foot in the corporate world and one foot in the metaphysical world, but there's a lot of people that live like that.
Yeah, there
Um,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And the more I open up to people and talk about it, the more they go, oh, me too. I had a visitation in a dream, or my grandfather came to me, or whatever. So it's more common than we think. Hello, I am interrupting this podcast to give a plug for my brand new book, Energize Your Happiness. I am so proud of this book. And I can't wait for you to read it or listen to it, because it will be on audio as well. And I just want you to know you don't have to push so hard. You don't have to be so stressed. You have all this beautiful energy inside you. And when you learn to manage the energy, when you learn to focus your energy, everything starts to fall into place. So energize your happiness, tap into your personal energy, and shape your destiny comes directly from my heart to your heart. It's available on lulu.com. It's available on amazon.com. And if you'd like a personally signed copy, go to energizeyourhappiness.com, and I will personally sign and autograph a copy and ship it out to you. So Energize Your Happiness is available right now. It makes a great gift for the holidays. And if you're hearing this after the holidays, it makes a great gift for Valentine's Day. New Year's, you name it, it makes a great gift. Make it a great day. Back to the podcast. I want to keep going back to the, so now if you I was reading your website, I was like, oh, I wish you were still doing readings because I would love to do a live reading here for the listeners, have you read me on the podcast. But maybe I'll do that with one of the other folks you recommend. But now I get my Akashic Records. How is it? Is it the same as past lives? Is it different? And then how does it help me moving forward?
So what I found from doing readings is that a lot of my clients were reporting back to me that, oh my God, the information you downloaded for me changed my life. I mean, completely changed. I mean, in some cases, completely changed their lives. And I kept hearing this over and over again, and then I started doing readings for, people locally in Colorado, because I live in the Front Range, and Boulder is considered to be part of the Front Range. And I was doing presentations at the same time. Colorado is very progressive when it comes to spirituality.
Boulder, I love Boulder.
Yeah, Boulder, especially Boulder. But I don't live in Boulder. I live just south of Denver. But anyway, I started. I was doing these presentations. I was doing readings. I started doing readings for a lot of Gaia TV employees. And that's how I got introduced to Gaia, was through working, getting to know these employees. And they kept talking about, oh my gosh, she does the best readings. We need to get her on a show. And so then in 2020, that was the first time I was invited to be on a show on Gaia, and then everybody found out about. It was like I went from being like a local Akashic reader to being like this international, well-known.
That's amazing.
Person. It was insane. It was just like in 15 minutes, my calendar for Akashic readings was booked and overbooked, triple, quadruple booked. Wow. For over a year out. It was.
But what does that say about? It's something that's necessary, that's needed, that's helpful. That we're at this time in our history where we need more of this. And
we definitely need, some guidance. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I always believe that the best guidance you can ever get is from your higher self. From your higher self and guides. That's the best. Rather than trying to get it from an outside source, but.
Can you give us an example? And I'm all about the higher self.
Yeah.
And connecting. Can you give us an example of someone that helped change their life, or like a.
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of examples, but the one that comes to mind is I have this adorable older client in the UK, and she had an Akashic reading with me. And she lived on a boat. She had kind of a quirky existence where, she was very kind of, Andromedan, I guess, which I don't know if we have time to get into the differences of all these different star lineages.
We might have to have modules or sequences. I'll have to have.
I know, exactly. But this client was somebody that was struggling with getting older, and she was losing her eyesight due to a very severe case of macular degeneration. And I didn't have high hopes. Honestly, she came to me and said, is there anything you can do to help me? And I said, well, I can do an Akashic clearing. So there's an Akashic reading and an Akashic clearing. So an Akashic clearing is a session where we clear issues in your life, so obviously the client has to do their own work as well, but if there's karmic conditions that are preventing you from living your best life, and this is where the records can really help you, so I told her, hey, I know you're going through this. I didn't tell her I didn't have high hopes, but I felt to myself like I don't have high hopes, but it can't hurt to do this, but so I told her, hey, I'm going to do an Akashic clearing for you at no cost because I really want to help you. And I don't know if this will help or not, but it can't hurt to at least do it. So we did this Akashic clearing for her, and within 2 weeks after that we did the clearing, she got a call from her eye doctor, and her eye doctor said, I just come across this experimental surgery. It's experimental, hasn't been approved yet, but we think you might be a good candidate to have this surgery. Are you willing to take the risk? And she said, well, of course. I mean, because she was getting so blind, she couldn't take her dog out for walks anymore, which was a big source of joy for her. And she also couldn't do photography anymore, which is another source of joy for her. So she said, absolutely, I want to do this surgery. What do I have to lose? So she did the surgery and it restored her sight. And now she's able to go back and walk her dog and go back to her photography hobby. And I just heard from her recently, she said, Debbie, I think you're the best. You've changed my life. And now I'm enjoying spending time with my 2 grandchildren.
And that's where I want people to just be open to all this because, people say we're in a mental health crisis. And I'm like, we're in a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's a mental health crisis, but it's because we've really left our spirits on the sideline for so long. And we became such a materialistic world, living from the head up. And we need to be connected to all of this. And I always kind of say we took the magic out of everything, right? Everything had to be proven and facts. And I'm like, where's the magic? Where's the mystery of like ancient rituals or those kind of things? So I love all this conversation about the Akashic Records. I know I asked the question, but I don't know if I didn't hear the answer about what's the difference between past lives and Akashic Records.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get to that. Thank you for reminding me.
Sorry, I keep bouncing.
So a lot of people think an Akashic reading is just a past life regression where, you're getting some information about your past lives, whether they be on Earth or beyond Earth, whatever. But actually, it's much more than that. So an Akashic Records reading not just encompasses the past, but also encompasses things that are going on in your present life and even future probabilities. So I've been able to predict in the records people's future partners or future romantic connections, and I have stories on that too, which maybe we'll share at a different time. But a lot of people ask me about their careers, about, their life mission. What are they supposed to be doing? What's their gifts? So it's more of like a 180 degree or even a 360 degree journey of your soul. And there's so much information that you can get from the Akashic Records, even beyond, I would say, just a past life regression. So
I love it. And to me, it's about understanding ourselves at a deeper level, at a soul level.
Exactly.
I went to a woman years ago who calls herself a corporate intuitive. And for 1 hour, she just babbled in metaphors. And I was like, what is she talking about? And she said, in a past life, I was saving the dolphins and I was, the friendliest creature of the sea. And I was helping these dolphins escape from the fishermen. But then too many dolphins wanted my help and I couldn't save them all. So I stopped saving them. And I said to her in the middle of the reading, I said, is this a metaphor or is this real? And she just looked at me and she said, does it matter? And I said, I guess not. So she went, on this whole Akashic, not Akashic, I'm sorry, the dolphins. And then I was in a troubadour band and she gave me the Zoom recording. And when I listened back to it by myself, it was so hit on all my personality and character traits. She used stories and metaphors, but it really helped me understand why I do things the way I do now and how I could get better. So I'm hearing that the Akashic Records are similar, but you're even giving future advice, or is it advice or premonitions? People always are afraid to hear bad news.
I would say they're more probabilities because we are free will beings. We can always change our, the outcome of probabilities, if you want to call it that. But I love that you mentioned traits because that's the one thing I've seen with certain patterns of, people that, so as, you also asked about starseed. So I want to give just a really quick explanation of what that is. So a lot of people hear the term starseed or light worker. What does that mean? What is that? And like I said, I didn't know what that was until I, embarked on this work. But so a starseed is somebody that is having a human incarnation on Earth, maybe had several human incarnations on Earth, but their soul didn't originate from Earth. So they may be a human in this lifetime, but their soul originated from a different star system or a different constellation or a different galaxy or a different reality. And there's a lot of star seeds on the planet right now because we're going through this ascension cycle from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. So a lot of people have heard, I would think there was even a group called the Fifth Dimension that sang about the age of Aquarius. That this was back in the early 70s, I think. That's what they were singing about. They were singing about this ascension cycle that we're going through right now. So there's a lot of us here on Earth currently that are here from other star systems. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. Like a lot of us think that, oh, well, I've been here on Earth. I'm an Earth person. I've never been anywhere else. But what I'm finding, and I know this has been,
just share something. Go ahead, I'm listening. I'm going to share.
There's other systems. There's what I'm finding with a lot of my clients is that a lot of them have this feeling they're not from Earth, that they actually originated from somewhere else. And I kept hearing this over and over and over again. I'm like, well, I need to look in their records and see where these people are from. And so I started seeing patterns, like depending on what star system they're from, it will predetermine sometimes what kind of traits they have, or what their interests are, or who they are, or what their mission is. And I mean, it's kind of beautiful. It's almost similar to astrology, but maybe even more expansive than astrology, where
it's so beautiful. And people listening can't see this, but I'm going to show Debbie. I met this young woman over the summer, and she told me, she said, I don't feel like I'm from this planet, and I don't know. And we were sitting at a table with someone who's very science-based, and he was like, I'm out of here. And I'm like, I believe you. So I tease, I put her in my phone. It says, Angie, planet unknown. And we just laugh because, I believe her. Right? Again, that's why keeping your mind so open. So I want to bring this down to you. So my heart's racing so fast. My brain is popping because there's so many ways we could go with this.
Yeah.
But right now I want to bring it down to the energy moving really fast on our planet, all this us versus them, and contention, people, everyone fighting and not getting along. And to me, and I want to hear your take. Mm-hmm. It's forcing us to wake up. It's forcing us to, when I can't control the external world, I have to look within and learn how I control my internal world. Mm-hmm. So how would you relate that kind of take to what's happening now? Or how would you what advice could you give people who are struggling through what's happening in our world these days?
Yeah, that's, and I struggle too, honestly. I spent a lot of years fighting depression and anxiety, so I always say, if you're at a place where you're questioning things, why are things the way they are? What we're living in right now is actually kind of like the movie Matrix, the whole movie series, where we're living this kind of artificial construct right now. And then, so that's why, when you had your experience, with I guess you said your grandfather, and I had my extraterrestrial experience, it just felt so real because the dimensions beyond this dimension are so real compared to this dimension. It's just like we're playing kind of a role here, or we're, maybe doing some sort of weird experiment. But for those of you that are losing hope that, there's hope for this planet, we are going through an ascension cycle right now where a lot more people are waking up to the fact that this isn't the real reality, that there's a reality beyond this, that is actually the true reality that we're moving towards. And it's open to all of us. And, we all have the ability to ascend, but it's actually creating that within setting that intention that we want to create this world. So no one's going to come and save us. Okay. No one,
Mhm.
the extraterrestrials aren't going to come and save us. The ascended masters, the angels aren't going to come and save us. We have to be willing to create that world for ourselves. And we do this through, living a high dimensional life, aligning with things that really matter, being connected with nature, meditating every day, connecting with our inner selves, visualizing what we want to create in our world. And I can go on and on with this, but those are I would say, the first steps that we need to take to create this fifth dimensional reality for ourselves. And so we're going
And I
to
love
be
what
the
you're saying.
pioneers and models for this. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Debbie, because all those things you mentioned are doable. Anyone listening could go outside and be with nature or journal or read. I forget.
yeah.
As you were talking, I think, my journey into this was, I say it was accidental, but there are no accidents, right? Early in my career, people I worked with, leaders in high positions, kept gifting me these books, and they were spiritual books. And I was like,
Mhm.
why are they giving me, like, I think the Reconnection, someone gave me Ramtha, someone gave me Seth. And like these books were coming into my hands by corporate people.
Yeah.
And every time I read them, my mind was like, oof, oof, right? There's a new way to look at this that I
Yeah.
didn't see. So all the things, I like the things that you're saying are things that we could do. And I also like what you're saying about being our higher selves, being in touch with that. Since you don't give readings anymore, do you have a book, or do you give classes, or is there other things you offer?
I actually still do readings. It's just that my wait
Mhm.
list is so long. I mean, I do
Okay.
readings every week. I mean, because I want to
Okay.
stay in practice. I want to stay in connection with the Akashic Records. And I'm happy to do a reading for you, So,
Yeah. Could we do one live? Or would that be
probably not at this
probably not?
time
I'd
because
probably
it
cry or
takes,
something.
yeah. So we'll have to do
Okay.
another session or another,
Okay. So we'll
yeah.
do a reading and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do that. Yeah. So,
That would be fabulous.
yeah.
So go ahead.
I do offer classes on how to do galactic Akashic readings. So this is doing readings on lifetimes even beyond Earth. And we're currently we're on our last week right now of this year's cohort. So I have 130 students right now that are going through the
Wow.
course with me, and they're all excited. They're sad that the course is ending, but they're excited to embark on their new skills. And so I teach this course every year, and I'm currently developing an advanced level to remember when I mentioned the Akashic clearing. So the advanced level is going to
Yes.
teach people how to do the Akashic clearing aspect
And how
of
many sessions is the course, or how long does it take? Is it 6 months, 7 months?
my particular Akashic course is 6 weeks long.
Okay,
So,
perfect. That's very
so it's
doable.
mostly online, but we do meet twice a week on Zoom. And then we have students all around the world. I mean, it's
That's
amazing.
great.
And in previous years, we've had 270 students, 300 students, so people all around the world are tuning into this right now. And then I also do speaking events and appearances, so I'm usually at Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles every year. That's
Okay.
usually each February every year. I do a lot of events with Portal to Ascension. And if you're a Gaia subscriber, I've been on probably about 12 interviews on Gaia.
That's
And I know they're going
wonderful.
to
You're
call
going to
me
get your
back.
own show. I feel it.
Yeah, yeah, they keep calling me back, but I think it's because I talk about information no one else does, and they get pretty high viewership. But I love the people at Gaia. They're amazing, and they're top quality. Great content. So if you're interested in this kind of content, people might want to consider
Mhm.
subscribing to Gaia, because you can, and it's not just extraterrestrials; it's all aspects of spirituality. Yes,
Spirituality.
yeah.
And so I've got thrill bumps this whole conversation. My heart's racing just because I'm so happy and I love it. But what would you say to someone who's maybe more skeptical or a doubter? Like, what would be their first kind of put their toe in the water? What would you suggest?
I would say maybe, if this is a little bit over your head, or maybe you just feel like, hey, I don't know if I can connect with this, but I have a, curiosity about it. I would explore maybe energy, like working with energy, like maybe looking into working with Tai Chi or Reiki or yoga. And I would say those are kind of like the gateway,
Yeah, no, because we
into
are energetic beings and we are vibrating, and it's really getting in touch with yourself
right.
so that you can expand what you think is possible. And I do, I
Absolutely.
always say my goal is to open hearts and minds and,
Hmm.
just be open to everything. And, Wayne Dyer was one of my first teachers. I think I
Oh, I
read every
loved
single
Wayne
book.
Dyer and
Yeah, I
Louise
think I read
Hay. She was
every
amazing.
single book
Yes. Yeah.
he wrote. So, it's, yeah, I love what you're saying about Tai Chi or yoga or really, and real yoga. I always say, because it's not just about your body, it's about your mind, right? That
Yeah,
connection
exactly.
piece
So
is
you
the
want to
beauty
you
of
want to
it.
do a yoga practice with that integrates the spiritual aspects, not
Yeah,
the trendy hipster aspect of yoga. Yeah, so
exactly.
uh,
Exactly. So my first book was about the habits of happy, successful people. Um, I actually recently had a reading and she kept telling me, Michelle, don't get ahead of your skis. Your soul wants to go fast, but it's so many great ideas and so many things to do. So to ground me, I have a lot of habits that helps me stay grounded. What are your favorite habits, rituals that you do to help you stay grounded and centered?
I would say I have a daily meditation practice. So I meditate, even if it's just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I mean, I don't do
And can
like
you
mass.
share? Do you use an app? Do you just sit in silence?
No, I just sit in silence. I did get trained in meditation by the Buddhist monks, so my husband and I did a week with them, and we learned some meditation techniques. But I just meditate because I know that once I get centered within myself, things always seem to go better. And sometimes we forget to do that. The other thing I do, and I know this is going to sound trite, but I really think about, like, if I'm feeling a little like off course, I think about what is it in my life right now that I have to be grateful for. So I do this kind of gratitude. I mean, and when I see like all the blessings I have in my life, and,
Mm.
even if it's something little like, drinking a nice cup of coffee every day, or living in Colorado, which I'm always thankful I live in Colorado because I love
Yeah.
Colorado. But, uh, so I have, I do a gratitude list, and that really seems to bring me back, in alignment, very much so.
Anyone listening right now, I use the word trait, and I think that's the problem. People don't realize the power. Like gratitude is the
Yeah,
queen of virtues. It's the queen of helping you feel better. So if you're
absolutely.
listening to us and you're feeling down, it's exactly take Debbie's advice and get out your journal, do a gratitude, write it down or take a gratitude walk or, really get into the smallest things, like you said, where you live, the cup of coffee, and then really tune into how your energy shifts when you do it. And my goal for people is to have them make the connection that they shifted their energy. It wasn't something outside of them. It was their
Exactly.
focus on gratitude. So
I
that's
have one
beautiful.
more thing that I want to add,
Yeah.
just being of service to others. I would say that changes your life. That, I mean, even if it's just volunteering at a food bank, once a month, or whatever it is that you can do to help people that can never repay you, that can never, even
Mm.
if it may be giving a sandwich or some money to a homeless person, whatever it is that you can do to give back to others, that is going to reward you tenfold, a hundredfold. I started off even before I was awakened. I used to work as part of an animal assisted therapy team. So I had a
Mm.
therapy animal, and we were trained. So we were trained and certified through the American Humane Association in Denver. And we volunteered together for 6 years, and we did so much
Mm.
work. She was my original teacher. And she was a therapy cat, not a therapy dog. So that is even more amazing. And if you're interested in my therapy cat story, I do have that story on my website under the About section. So if you go into my website in the menu, you can read about Piglet, the therapy cat. But
tell us what your website is so people know.
Yeah. So my website is just my name, DebbieSolaris.com. So if you're interested in any of this, if you want to connect with me, see what I'm doing, see what trainings I have coming up, what events I'm going to be in, just hit the website. As far as readings are concerned, I got to be honest, the wait list is so long that it's going to be insane, to get on my
other
wait
practitioners
list.
on your website also. Is that correct? Or
Was that?
Is there other practitioners on your website that can do readings?
Yeah. So if you want a reading, there is a directory of people who are trained by me on that directory that you can get a reading with a lot quicker. So I would highly suggest that. Yeah. And
I was in Colorado like 2 weeks ago, and I met a woman and her service dog. They go to the airport. That's what she does. And what a fabulous thing that they do in Colorado. She spends so many days at the airport with her, Labradoodle, I think it was.
Yeah, they got, there's definitely different ways you can serve as part of an animal assisted therapy team. I worked primarily with people at Fort Carson, like the Wounded Warrior Project, and also the American Red Cross and Fallen Heroes Families. We also did some work with Pikes Peak Library District, as well as the Alzheimer wards. So that was my main thing. And we did a lot of different programs. It was kind of amazing. In the 6 years that we did this, it was amazing, how many lives we were able to touch. So
it's so beautiful. And Debbie just gave you all 3 easy to implement things. It was meditate 5 minutes a day, gratitude, and be of service. And I saw this fun post on LinkedIn. I didn't even read the whole thing, but it was the hello effect. And I thought it reminds me of what you're saying. It just said, just start saying hello to people. And just see how different your day goes. If smile, say hello, keep moving. Hello, hello. And it just, again, it changes people's energy if you just smile and say hello. Totally. So this was so exciting. And I can't wait to have you on again, because I want to dive in deeper. And I am going to have my records read by you. So I'm putting that out there in the universe. Everybody, I'm going to have it done. And then we'll come back and discuss. Any final words of wisdom you want to share before we end?
I would say just keep your mind open to greater possibilities beyond the physical, beyond this reality. Maybe you might discover that, your soul came from somewhere else, or, beyond Earth, or maybe there's a greater story to your soul journey, and just stay open to it and see where it takes you.
I love it. I love it so much, Debbie. And I love in the military, in, the government job, to reading Akashic Records, anything is possible. It's all out there for all of us.
So. Who would have known I would ever be doing this, but it's been a great journey. Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Michelle. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. This topic was just so fun for me to talk about. So thank you for all of you listening. I want you to write your outcome. I want you to try on some of the new ideas that Debbie suggested, and I want you to make it a great day. That's a wrap for today's episode of Write Your Outcome with me, Michele Phillips. If something sparked in you and you enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to rate, review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's keep these ripples going and make it a great